Do you ever wonder why the mediator between God and man has to be God-man? Jesus Christ fits that category called God-man. But why? Bavinck teaches that Christ's incarnation was necessary to provide propitiation for humanity's sins, satisfying God's righteous wrath and sin and justice. First of all, there is a satisfaction of divine justice and wrath that is required. Did you know that? Do you know why Jesus even have to die on the first place on the cross? Because to satisfy God's wrath. It's actually, there's a Bible verse to that, and also so that it can provide propitiation, which means you satisfy God's wrath and justice. Okay. Now, why is that? Why do you do that? Why do you need to do that? Because sin because of Adam's disobedience, brought along guilt and corruption to humanity. That's why we're so corrupted morally. Our very fabric is corrupted, necessitating a mediator who could bear the penalty of sin and reconcile humanity to God. That's why we need a mediator, because our entire nature is corrupted and we bear the guilt inherited from Adam. The seed of sin continues to germinate in us. All right? And therefore, we need a mediator to reconcile humanity to God. The word reconcile is very important and very powerful. Without the mediator, we're not talking anymore. It's like two parties quarreling, two brothers quarreling or whatever, good friends quarreling, not talking to one another for a mother and daughter. We heard that. It's going to years and years not conversation. You need a mediator. So that is a little picture to what happened between God and man and humanity. Bavinck argues that only a human could represent humanity in this act of atonement, as the penalty for sin required a human nature to endure suffering and death. Wow, hear that? The penalty for sin requires us to endure, to suffer, and to die. This is what happened in creation. Genesis 3, after Adam and Eve fell, God cursed man and woman and said, "Thou shalt die, you shall suffer, you shall plow the fields, and you shall fight the thorns and all this, and the woman you shall bear much pain to give birth and all this, and finally you shall die." But this death talk about eternal death, and that requires Jesus to mediate.